There's no clear king in the world of the Big 12 conference, and post spring SP Plus rankings just dropped. And I'm here to read through all of the numbers, analytics, insights, and give you what you need to know about the wackiest, wildest, and most controversial race and conference in the entire country. This is World of College Football. I'm your host, Moon. Let's get to it. What's wavy? Welcome to the show. I'm your boy Moon, credential media member of DCFB Nation, the fastest growing college football platform in the world. Special shout out to you and yours for being here. We miss you, man. It's been a long, jam-packed week. Governor been holding us down. We've had overreaction Monday on a Tuesday. We've had college football showdown, and I'm here to close off the nightcap, batting closer, ninth inning, ready to knock it out of the park. On today's show is going to be jam packed for you, man. I'm talking about Big 12, and there's a lot of things that came over the last 24 hours that we have to talk about, including Bill Connolly. Shout out to you if you watch this, Bill. I appreciate you dropping this at the right time because I was just looking at your one that you dropped in February, and I was like, man, when is he going to drop again? Me and the governor was talking about it actually. It was like, well, and then we wake up this morning and we're blessed at 7 o'clock in the morning. So I said, post spring drop, everybody's bringing out rankings, but we're going to go beyond just surface level. We're going to give you what actually you need to know what the teams are. And this is going to be a deep dive, unlike anything I've done on my channel or on CFB Nation. This is going to be like straight ball talk. So if you hear me use the word returning production, you have to know that means that's the percentage of a team coming back for that team. If you hear me use the word SP plus, that is the ranking model that we're looking at that weighs in returning production, recruiting, recent history, and a couple other metrics that Bill Connolly used. It's my job to decipher through all of those rankings and even his perspective and tell you what I think from the blueprint and drone shot, and then also microscopically. So we're gonna break it down and we're gonna go through the entire Big 12 conference because there's a lot of teams, 16 to be exact, that need to get talked about. But there's so many variables that's going to come into play to show you why the Big 12 conference in 2025 is going to be one for the history books. I'm talking about absolute frenzy. So let's break it down and get into it. And we're going to start with Arizona State. Sun Devils fans, come talk to me real quick. And let's get into this around the nation, around the world segment. This isn't a rebuild. This is not a Cinderella campaign. This is not anything besides a calculated wildfire that's burning and growing in the Big 12 with absolute purpose. And Arizona State isn't back in 2025. They earned it all in last year in 2024. You just got to give them what their credit is. I did not have Arizona State as a Big 12 credential media member. I did not have them voted preseason besides the last team in the conference. And they smacked me up and down all year long, and I had to regret it. We all did. However, Kenny Dillingham's crew, it's his year, ranked number 22, and post spring SP plus rankings, and that's the highest marks in this entire conference. So it makes sense Jalen had them as a number 10 team for him in college football showdown earlier today. And I don't feel like that's smoke and mirrors at all because the Sun Devils boast the top 30 offense. They're 32.6 SP plus and 26 nationally. And the top 30 defense that was 27 nationally in SP plus. That's balance, that's danger, that's data-driven truth to basically tell you that this is real. And they're coming off of a 11-2 season where Kenny Dillingham's crew is now returning 79% of his total production is returning. 85% of that is on offense. That's number one nationally, above Clemson. And on defense, they're returning 79% as well. That's number two nationally. So this is not a projection that's just built on potential. It's rooted in absolute experience. And speaking of that, let's talk about the guy, Sam Levitt, however you pronounce it. Sam, I wish you could correct us to let us know how the proper way to pronounce it is. But until then, Sam Levitt, the sophomore quarterback who went from under the radar transfer to full-fledged star because all he had to do was just sit down and wait. You know what I mean? Just sit down and wait. Last year, he threw for 2.9K yards and 24 touchdowns, adding 5 more scores on the ground with his legs. And he did it all blinking under pressure, not blinking. He stood 10 toes, didn't fold, buttoned up, suit and tie, but an absolute chaos was underneath that vest. You feel me? His command, especially in big games for Arizona State, was one of the calling cards for this team, and it gave Arizona State quarterback stability that they have lacked in a decade. Now, with a entire full season, we don't really call it the off season here at CFB Nation, but the full, you know, off season, he's going as an unquestioned starter, and I'm sitting here looking at myself like, Moon, SP Plus, Bill Connolly said they ranked this, but it makes sense because Sam Levitt is actually poised for a national breakout in 2025, year of our Lord. And inside of Sam Levitt's toolbox, it's loaded. He got Jordan Tyson. He's going to return as his go-to receiver who had 1.1K yards and 10 touchdowns last year. And he's absolutely surgical with his routes. And he's dangerous after the catch. And that's something that you want to see the most. On the other side, he got Malik McClain, the 6'4" redshirt senior transfer, who's going to give the Sun Devils a true vertical threat on the outside. Somebody that could take the top off the defense in the slot and in rotation. They got Jalen Moss, they got Jerron Hamilton, and they got Max Ware. That's going to be relied on heavily throughout the season, and it's going to provide you depth that you need, especially with some game-changing explosiveness. When you talk about the tight end, they got Kaman Mateer. I think that's how you say his name. He's still red zone cheat code. Last time I checked, he creates mismatches, and that's what you need to see when we're talking about exploiting and dissecting coverages. And he also has underrated blocking skills too. So I'm looking at him as a weapon more than he is an accessory for this offense. The run game is retooling, and that's what you need to know because Cam Scotabo is not walking through that door anymore. Arizona State fans, he's gone, and that's good that he's in the league. But the drop off, I don't think it's going to be major. It's going to be minimal. Why? Because the coaching staff actually did a great job throughout this offseason building and saying, you know what, Scotabo is our best player. How can we build a game plan to focus on him? Now this year it's going to be like, man, we got Kyson Brown taking over lead duties. He has big play ability that he flashed over and over and over again, and he did it in limited reps. He's smooth, he's elusive, and he can navigate throughout the chaos and murkiness with ease. I'm talking about when a block becomes muddied and a player doesn't get his block or hit the angle that you need to. He knows how to make a man miss in open space. He knows how to do it in a phone booth, like my guy Nino says. Former USC do it all weapon, Raleek Brown is also going to bring some lightning that they need. They're going to be in there for jet sweeps, screens, bubble passes, option routes, you name it. And then one of my favorite weapons, I know one of D-Now's guys, Kanye Udo. He rounds out one of the most versatile backfields in the entire Big 12. When I'm sitting there looking at it, I'm like, yo, this all works because of the offensive line. This group is big. It's experience, is portal forged, battle tested. They got Josh Atkins in there that's coming in and locking down the left-handed side. They also got Ben Coleman, who's going to bring leadership under the center. At guard, they're going to be playing physical and nasty. And they have 8 upperclassmen that's going to be rotating in through the mix. I'm looking at it, I'm like, Arizona State has one of the most mature fronts in the conference. And that's the reason why they land inside of the top 30 of SP Plus rankings. That's the deeper why. People looking at why are they ranked? It's because of that. But the real separator in this whole process is the defense. The defense, last year they forced 30 turnovers. That's just absolutely crazy. Crazy. They impose real problems for spread heavy offenses that you see far too often now in the Big 12. And now they return nearly 80% of production from that defense coming in. And almost every starter is in the front 7. Clayton Smith, he's going to be a game record coming off the edge. When you take a look at him and his profile, you look at long, twitchy, disruptive in the backfield type of players. He's that. On the inside, they got CJ Fight. They got Jacob Kongika, and they're both gonna put in work, and they're looking to just shut down interior runs for this year. This defensive line is built to control the point of attack and collapse pockets. And that linebacker, this room is loaded too. They got Cyrus Fayusiu. They got Tate Romney, and they're going to return as probably one of the most productive linebacker duos in the Big 12. Fayusiu totaled 90 tackles and 12 tackles for a loss in 2024. And Romney, he had closing speed and play recognition that just popped off the screen whenever you watched him. You add in Jordan Cook, you add in Keyshawn Elliott, and you see that the Sun Devils can go 3 deep with starting caliber players. Job, man, competing. Violent, it's experience, and it's ultimately Big 12 tested. The secondary might even be better, and I understand they lost some players. It has senior leadership. But Keith Abney, Javen Robinson, sticky physical corners that has the chip and play with that type of edge, bravado, swagger, and confidence that you need. Safeties Miles Rozier and Xavier Alford give the defense some sideline to sideline range and toughness that you ultimately need playing in this conference. In the box and nickel, they got Conrad Breedlove, and he gives Arizona State some flexibility and tempo when you get motion heavy looks and teams just start to use tight ends and things of that nature. But together they form a cohesive gelled unit, and you start looking beyond just the numbers and see what they got. They loaded. Them boys is loaded. Special teams. They got Jesus Gomez, steady hand last year in the kicking game, even though they had their own struggles and stuff last year. I won't hold you. But on a serious note, Jalen Moss is going to add explosion in punt returns, kick returns this year. So when I sit here and I look at what Kenny Dillingham is turning Arizona State into, it's definitely a belief system based approach, because they don't have to guess who they are. They know who they are. Every coach has the same type of coach speak, and they speak the same language. And every unit is going to ultimately end up playing with a synchronized aggression that comes with them. And basically, what I'm telling you, SP Plus confirmed it, because Arizona State is top 25 team in America with the roster to back it up. So the Big 12 doesn't run through Texas, Oklahoma no more. We understand that. But it might run through Tempe. And if it does, it won't be a cute underdog story that we can tell to our grandma. It'll be an absolute reckoning from the people in Arizona State, because this team, they're not chasing anything. They're hunting you. Welcome to the world of college football. Arizona State checked off the list, people. Got them in. And Arizona State fans, it's a lot to love. It's a lot to love for this year. But I got to be real with you. It's going to look different. And this coaching job is going to be one of Kenny Dillingham's greatest works or biggest mishandlings, because this team has so many playmakers all over the field. So many playmakers. Let's take a trip out to Waco, and talk about Baylor's boomerang year. And now we got some SP Plus rankings to back up our receipts that we're going to be talking about. Baylor fans, come talk about it. Y'all didn't just survive in 2024. Y'all staged a comeback that should have been absolutely impossible. Let's just keep it a buck. Because after starting the season 2-4, I thought y'all was cooked. Y'all got steamrolled in Ames, but y'all ended up ripping off 6 straight wins to close off the season, averaging 38.3 points per game during that streak, and flipping the conference and just on his head, because y'all went from laughing stock to 8-4 redemption arc. And I'm sitting there looking at myself like, dang, I didn't expect Baylor to be in a situation where Sawyer Robinson and them boys is cooking like this. And while that momentum was undeniable, it's the rankings that just dropped by Bill Connolly, SP Plus, that gives me full hope that Baylor is going to bounce back in real ways in 2025. The Bears, they clocked in at number 35 in SP Plus rankings with the top 25 offense, 21st nationally. and still a wobbly defense at 58th nationally. But that gives us more nuggets to cipher through, because Baylor, they can score with anybody. But winning shootouts may once again be the cost of doing business in the Big 12, because the architect of this whole entire resurgence is a quarterback by the name of Sawyer Robinson, who grew up throughout the course of the season, Baylor fans. And once he grew up, that man never looked back. I know he has some early shakiness. He finished with 3,000 yards, 28 touchdowns, 62% of his passes completed. But it was the poise in November games that he showed, particularly in close moments where you need it and the sugar is on the line. You feel me? He gave Baylor true field general for the first time since their 2021 run. And who was his favorite target? Moan. Well, that would be the great Josh Cameron, who posted 52 receptions, 754 yards, and 10 touchdowns on the season. Count them. And what I noted from Josh's performance was just the fact that he was the ultimate chain mover, a vertical threat, and the heartbeat of this wide receiver room. They got Ashton Hawkins, who added in another 567 yards receiving, and Michael Trigg, the former SEC transfer, punched in about 30 catches, and he had 3 red zone scores and got busy. It's not going to be a room that's built on 5-star flash like you see with Auburn, with Cam Coleman, for example, and Eric Singleton and all these, but it's layered and it has physical, highly functional approach to them. The run game, though, let's mention that because it's important. Bryson Washington broke out. He had over 1,000 yards, 12 touchdowns, 6 yards per pop. And I'm looking at his performance, and that kind of production is elite. And then you pair that with Dawson Pendergrass and him going for 6 scores and 670 yards rushing. I'm saying to myself, Baylor has one of the most dangerous backfields, dynamic duos in the Big 12. And they're going to punish light boxes with their way that they play. They're going to burn defenses who overcommit to coverage and trying to stop Sawyer Robinson and the Josh Camerons and Trigg and Hawkins. Man, up front, you can really start to believe in them because this group is not flashy, but they get the job freaking done. Because that's all this offense really needs. SB Plus basically is telling us that this team is a top 25 offense nationally. They're efficient, they're explosive, they're confident in their identity. And this offensive line is steadiness in it. Sidney Fugard and Ryan Lingle, they are the headliners of the group. Now, on the other side of the ball, the defense is where we're going to have the final verdict of this team. Baylor's defense is ranked 58 in SB Plus nationally. And that's going to be the holding back of this team's ceiling. Their ceiling could be way higher. It doesn't mean that they're overall doomed, but they need to get a jump in red zone efficiency, third down discipline, and front seven pressure. You get those 3 things, and now we start to look at a team that's not giving up 40 plus points a game, 50 points, 40 again. This team starts to look like a real spoiler. In this defense, who's returning Keaton Thomas, Matt Jones, who are ultimate tone setters for this team, combining for 225 total tackles and 11 and a half sacks from the both of them. Add in a little sprinkle of Jackie Marshall giving you 3 sacks off the edge. Caden Jenkins emerging into him as corner. I'm starting to think of myself, maybe, just maybe. I mean, SB Plus puts Baylor 35 nationally. Not elite, not bottom tier, but absolutely in that sweet spot of dangerous. And in the Big 12, that's all you really need to have a playoff spot in this alley of a conference, because it feels like going to an alley ready for a fight and everybody got their hands behind their backs with knives in them. You don't know who's about to pull out what. And head coach Dave Aranda saved his job last November, but what he built during that 6-week stretch where they won and continued to win, that wasn't just momentum. It was what I really feel like this culture could be, and we haven't really seen a lot of that since 2021. Can Baylor hold on to that edge, even though their schedule is tougher with trips to Arizona State, UCF, Cincinnati? They got to play Auburn. Waco could go from a whisper to a wildfire in 2025. Let's talk about it. Waco fans, let me know what you think about our segment. Hey, coming up next in the show, Arizona, Arizona, Arizona. Your fans, Wildcat fans, come talk to your boy. I understand the collapse for Arizona last year was absolutely horrendous. It was tough. It was tough when you see Tessarora McMillan in all of his glory and wonder have to go to the Carolina Panthers and you feel like, dang, I didn't get the most out of him. Dang, he couldn't get a chip. Dang, he never won a conference. Dang, man, what happened? 4-8 season is what happened. 2 Big 12 wins is what happened. A defense that broke more than it bent is what happened. But here comes the saving grace. Mr. Brent Brennan, a gritty West Coast rebuilder with hands on the program. And right now, Arizona's sitting at 60th in the SB Plus entering in 2025. And no illusions about how this climb is going to be, but I'm just going to keep it a buck with you. Last year was real, painful, and documented in full for all of us to see. SB Plus has the offensive rating for this team at 51st and defensive rating at 60th. So when you look at it, that looks to me like a profile of a team that can move the ball, but it's just kind of like Baylor. You can move the ball consistently, but your defense just can't stop nobody. And when you look at the measurables and you see that Arizona is returning 62% of their returning production, you see that Coach Brennan, he has some clay that he can mold into something. Even if he's still waiting for all of that to turn into marble, you could still mold Noah Fafita, a quarterback that just had under 3,000 yards passing and 18 touchdowns last year. And you're like, man, that's a down season given the fact that you have so much talent. But that doesn't show the full weight behind the fact that he had to endure an offensive line that looked like wet tissue out there because they just kept crumbling and crumbling and crumbling. And he just kept swinging and swinging. And in 2025, a more seasoned Noah Fafita, a more scarred, a more battle tested Noah Fafita, who hopefully can be better protected. I'm looking at it and I'm like, all right, man, that man gonna cook this year. He'll be throwing to a recalibrated receiving core that doesn't have T-Mac, but it does have enough to get by. They got Chris Hunter, a junior with glue hands, and he's going to be sliding into that wide receiver X role. And he put up 3 touchdowns and 323 yards last year in 2024. He's reliable. That's what you need. You got to turn back the clock and get some reliability. Jeremiah Patterson is there. He's going to be in the slot. He's going to be a return man. He's just the ultimate jitterbug for me. I mean, he had 868 yards of all-purpose yards in 2024, and I'm sitting here saying, man, the way he made defenders have to just miss and whiff in open space, you need that guy out there all the time. You add in Luke Wysong, a super senior transfer with track speed from New Mexico, who lit it up at New Mexico in the Lobos. They know how good Luke is. They mad that he left, but they still know how good he is. There's enough to get encouraged about. Ultimately, though, with Arizona, it's gonna come down to the offensive line. It's gonna come down to the offensive line, bro. Michael Wooten, Chuba May, 2 veterans is gonna anchor the group for them, but they do got size, but it still needs to showcase that they can punch above their weight and they can be more than just replacement level type of guys. They got to open up space for Ishmael Mahdi. They got one of the most exciting additions in all of college football with Ishmael Mahdi, the Texas State transfer who ran for 1.2K yards last year and 10 touchdowns at Texas State, and he did it with ease. He brings immediate credibility to this running game. And what better way to let Noah Fafita actually get deeper into his bag? Hey, well, let's let go of Ishmael Mahdi. Let's add in a little spark and a centerpiece for our offense that we can play with some pop and play downhill. 60th and SB plus defensive rating is not good to me. It's middle of the pack. But then when I look at my research and I'm sitting here saying to myself, well, what's the missing gap? Oh, they allowed 410 yards per game. They gave up big plays late in halves. They couldn't generate enough consistent pressure to rattle anybody. And then insert Trey Smith, the veteran edge rusher who had 53 tackles and 4.5 sacks last year. And he's going to be the leader on this defensive line for you. When I look at Dominic coming in on the other edge and have some presence, and then I got Savea on the other side and Deshaun McKnight on the interior too. I'm looking here. I'm like, please, y'all, we got to take that next step up. Like, it's a group that's not going to overall blow you out of the water and wow you. But if they can stay healthy, it can lead to a good rotation for Arizona and their defensive line. On linebacker, we're going from level to level, bro. This is my breakdowns. Tay Brown had 69 tackles and 4 tackles for a loss last year. He's going to be leading this group with Chase Kennedy, and he's a rangy transfer with upside that's going to come in, and they're going to be cleaning up a lot. Let's just be real, especially with the way the Big 12 teams love to just have these spread looks where they're just running you in and running. They're going to be all over the place, but it's going to be necessary for their growth. And then last but not least, the secondary. Dalton Johnson led the team with 94 tackles last year, 2024 year of our Lord, from the safety spot. He needs that round of applause because the fact that he did that on the way that this team was getting cooked was like crazy. And he's fearless. He's downhill. He's angry. He's consistent. He's the only bright spot that I saw. But around him, for real, I had to open up my eyes and say, Mo, it ain't just him. They got some players. They got Genesis Smith that in 3 interceptions. They got Groves Killebrew. They got Traydon Stukes. They got options in coverage that didn't exist in 2024. And if this unit in the back end makes a leap, then I feel like the rest of the team collectively has to make that overall leap. When I'm looking at this team, what makes them different now is tone. It's the grittiness and that Coach Brennan has in his approach. He's done this before. He took San Jose State from being irrelevant to being respected with some new upgrades to their facilities too, because people wanted to put money in their pockets. He knows how to teach toughness, and he knows what it means to coach from below the surface. And that's what you need, because Arizona isn't loud, but that's fine. They've been broken before, just like last year. They've been ignored, just like last year. But now, with the proven back, Ishmael Mahdi, experienced quarterback in Noah Fafita, and now they got a defensive back end that actually might have some pop this year. This team might start clawing their way back into relevance, into that middle of the pack of the Big 12, or maybe even higher. One trench rep at a time, because that's what's going to come down to me for Arizona. Can you win the war of attrition in the trenches? You know who's going to win a lot? Our sponsors, Bet US. You know, if you use that promo code CLB Nation, I don't even know what I'm trying to tell you. Let the ad tell you.
Look at you out here using all these other sports books and you ain't even using the best one. Bet US. Get 125% match bonus when you use the promo code CFB Nation. Yeah, you heard me correctly. 125% match bonus on your first deposit using that code CFB Nation. We know that college football is in the off season, even though we don't celebrate that. You know, CFB Nation, we do college football 24/7. But there are plenty of things for you guys to bet on.
Who will have the most wins? OKC Thunder or Cleveland Cavaliers? Can Luka and LeBron make it all mesh to make it to the play-in tournament? Maybe you're a college basketball guy ready to risk it all for Florida to make it to the big dance.
Basketball isn't for you? Maybe you're a football guy. Well, BetUS got you covered with this year's UEFA Championship. Can Liverpool or Barcelona win it all? Will Erling Haaland or Harry Kane lead their teams to victory?
May is going to get popping when the Kentucky Derby hits town. BetUS has you covered in that way too, with all major horse racing events. Point is, type in that promo code CLB Nation and go get that money. What's wavy? It's your boy Moon. You tune in the World of College Football podcast hosted by me, credential media member of CLB Nation, the fastest growing college football brand in the world. Special shout out for you being here. We greatly do. Hey, my guy Fallen in the building, man. Shout out to Fallen, the GOAT. Shout out to my guy. We're going to be talking about UCF coming up real soon, man. He said, I got to get that money on Belmont Stakes. 100%. And make sure you use that promo code CLB Nation, man. Get 125% deposit match. Who don't like to save some money right now? Get that money matched. Let's continue our breakdown and deep dive into the Big 12 and all that is. We're going to go through every team. And if it takes a long time, I don't care, but I'm going to be giving y'all heat. But we're going to take our time. We're going to be diligent because now not people are doing this. And if you're here right now, you're a part of the 1%ers. I love college football more than 99% of the people that's out there. And maybe you can relate with that if you're watching this content. On this day, Thursday, a later day in May, we're under 100 days away from the college football season starting. And we have so many teams to look at from a different lens in a different state. So, speaking of Belmont Stakes, let's raise the stakes and go out to Provo, Utah. BYU, I'm clapping it up now because y'all going to be my team that I'm watching. But everybody wants to put their money on the table for Kansas State and Arizona State and Texas Tech and what Coach McGuire's doing. Look, discipline, depth, and SB Plus warning just got issued on today because SB Plus model says that BYU is a contender because there's no mascot with more mystery in the college football world in 2025 than the BYU Cougars. They're not flashy, they're not loud, but you go to Provo, you might think otherwise. They're not a showboat on media day. They're gonna come button up, but in a league built with chaos, BYU enters this race as a contestant that's steady, mature, and absolutely dangerous in this world of college football. And if you follow the SP Plus rankings closely, the numbers back it all up. And what I'm saying is not cap. Look, the BYU Cougars ranked 27th in the SP Plus rankings by Bill Conley post spring that just dropped today. And we're starting this deep dive talking about BYU and saying that 32.2 is good for 29th in the country. Defensively, they check in at 20.6, and that's inside the top 30. And the fact that they return 59% of their total production with major pieces at every single level, I'm looking at it and I'm saying to myself, you got a complete top tier football team that's just hiding in plain sight, and they're absolutely scary. I would not want to play them because it starts in the trenches. Because BYU always starts in the trenches. The offensive line is full-grown men. Isaiah Jada anchors the blind side at left tackle, going to be protecting Jake Retzloff. He needs it. Bruce Mitchell, he's going to be returning as a cerebral center, one of the most heady centers in the game. Waylon Lupauhau, he's going to give them a Mauler type of energy at guard that's coming in. He's going to set that physical tone that they need. And this unit is built around a run game that averaged 160 yards per game last year. And they should be even more efficient with another year of cohesion that's under that belt. So I'm sitting here saying to myself, in the backfield, they got LJ Martin, who's a certified weapon. He had a 718 yards in 10 games last year, 5 yards a pop. He's going to blend vision and anger, and he's just going to keep drives alive all season long. Sion Misa, he's got a clean, like, change of pace type of style to him. He's going to bring that toughness that they need on short yards downs. But make no mistake, like I said, with a lot of other teams in the Big 12, they're not flashy, bro. They're not flashy. It's a reliable group that's going to be built to travel. At quarterback, this is where the big question mark leaves. The question mark is the elephant in the room. Fallon just mentioned it. Biggest question mark is the quarterback, because I know we got some allegations that's swirling around right now, and I don't want to really get into it right now. That's other for another deep dive on another show. But let's just say there's some allegations right now around Jake Retzloff, and there's also some people wondering if he is really like that. And I would put my hat and tip it to the guy and say that I think he is. Almost 3,000 yards passing last year and 20 touchdowns. People think that he's just a stationary guy. No, dude has 6 touchdowns last year and almost 450 yards rushing. I'm sitting here saying that he played some of his best ball in the second half of games. Like, he's not going to be, in my opinion, a Heisman quarterback. But I do feel like his leadership is going to be elite for what this team needs. His decision making is going to be good. And when I look at the weapons that he's returning, Chase Roberts, who missed the spring, is projected to be back in the receiving corps. And he posted 52 catches for 800 plus yards, 4 touchdowns. He's the ultimate matchup nightmare. And I'm sitting here thinking that he's going to get busy against zones. He's going to be able to have that chemistry with Resclaff and the back shoulder throws and the timing routes. Because besides that, they still got JoJo Phillips, who had 21 yards per catch last year. They had Parker Kingston and Keelan Marion, who's going to give them some short game explosion, hopefully get busy in the red zone. So I'm looking at this and I'm saying, all right, make it all make sense, Moon. SP Plus, they gave him a 32.2 officer rating. That number basically just reflects to me execution. BYU is not going to out talent you. They're not, they out leverage you. They out time you. They stay on schedule and they force you in positions on defense where you get bored, and when you get bored for a wrong second, you get beat. Ask Kansas State what it felt like to go into Provo, Utah last year. Yeah. The defense is where they're going to shine. Defense is where they're underrated. BYU, according to SP Plus rankings, is ahead of programs like Texas Tech, Arizona, and even my team, me and Fallen's team, UCF. And it's no mystery why, because this group, they got experienced guys that's rangy and opportunistic. They're going to make plays at every level, and that's what you're going to get from BYU. Like, they're going to make plays. Isaiah Glasker, one of the best linebackers in the nation. 70 tackles, 3.5 sacks, 3 interceptions last year. He got busy. But that's what's not going to show up on the stat line and the box scores is the fact that he dominated. They got Harrison Taggart, who is going to bring sideline to sideline type of energy that you need in this defense. He has that coverage versatility that you will want, where he can match up against running backs, match up against tight ends. They had Jack Kelly, too, who had 5 sacks and 10 tackles for a loss, who's going to be living in the backfield for BYU, and he's going to bring some violence off the edge. Strong hands as a defensive lineman is always good. But this front seven, when I look at it all put together, I'm saying, like, goodness gracious, bro. They're disciplined, they're gap sound, and they're not going to blow you away. You're going to look at the roster and like, who is this dude? And then you're going to play them and then be like, bro, they never get out pursued. They never give up over pursues. They always are gap integrity, like have high gap integrity. The secondary, they know how to turn pressure into points. BYU led the Big 12 in interceptions last year with 22. 22. They bringing back Jacob Robinson, Marquis Hollins, Tanner Wall. Like, each one of them picked off 3 passes in 2024. And I'm supposed to sit here and tell you that BYU is going to take a drop off? No, they're going to be elite at turnover generating plays. They're going to be elite. What's up, Ejo? Fallen said he's really fucking good at quarterback. The only problem is these allegations are true or not. And that's where we talk about. Like, that's going to be the big thing hanging over our heads for until we get to August, because whoever is not, we got to figure out who's the backup and what we're going to do. And I feel like BYU, Retzlaff takes some up a notch for sure, but they still got pieces to suffice even if he wasn't there. And one of the things we can't forget about the third phase, special teams. BYU special teams might be the best in the conference. They had 3 kick return touchdowns last year, 100-yarder from Keelan Marion. They had 2 punt return scores from Kingston. When you flip short fields and flip momentum in games, and that's how you change the dynamic. Man. What's good, Ejo? Welcome to World College Football, man. Hope you're doing good. We're going through SB Plus rankings right now for all the teams. I'm giving you my insight on all these teams in the Big 12 and what I'm thinking. BYU's, I'm screaming from the top of my lungs. BYU is a contender. They are a contender, even though it's not going to scream contender on your face, but they are. The SB Plus numbers basically whisper that to you. But for me, I'm looking at the fact that they're top 30 in offense and defense. They got a returning quarterback, depth at skill positions, continuity in the trenches, which you love to see, and a schedule that, it's not easy, but it's not like Texas, Alabama, buzzsaws. Like it's not like Auburn, Oklahoma, what we got to deal with. Like it's not to that level. So if they hold serve at home in Provo, they're gonna let this Big 12 conversation run through them, and it's gonna come down to them being in play in December. So don't let my calm tone fool you, or let the calmness and the button up approach of BYU fool you, bro. This is a team that has grit. This is a team with teeth that know how to show fangs, man. And if you don't bring your A game in the Provo, the Cougars will literally and methodically pull you apart and never break a sweat doing it. And their head coach, he'll just be sitting there laughing in the press conference. Yeah, we did. We executed in all three phases. You bet your bottom dollar they did. You bet your bottom dollar it did. You want discipline? It lives in Provo. Shout out to y'all, man. Coming up next, a team that I've been waiting to talk about, because you can't go from bees to talking about the Central Florida Space Knights, aka UCF Knights. Let's take a trip to Orlando. UCF fans, we gotta talk. Let's go. Where UCF finds itself is at like a fascinating crossroads right now, because they're entering into the 2025 season, and gone is Gus Malzahn, and back is a familiar name with unfinished business. Scotty Too Hottie, Mr. Scott, ice in his veins, Frosty, the snowman, glow man, about to get the business handled to. Mr. Scott Frost is back in a building. The same coach who took UCF to the pinnacle of Group of Five glory in 2017. He returns home to a program that's now entrenched in Big 12 warfare. But this version of the Knights in 2025, man, it's not riding really high because they're rebuilding right now. 4-8 season last year. It was more turbulent than the Orlando summer and all the craziness that we got going on. The numbers, but they speak plainly in SP Plus and Bill Connolly. UCF improved dramatically from February to where we are in post spring. I think February they were like 106 in the rankings, or 102. Now they're at 62nd in the nation in SP Plus post spring. And that's a clear indicator of a program that's still stuck in between eras for me. They're trying to figure it out. And with them bringing back 47% of the production, Jabron Baker's not coming back through there. RJ Harvey's not coming back. We don't have to worry about KJ Jefferson anymore. Like, this is a completely different situation, but it's still worth noting that 47% of returning production on offense and 48 on defense. That ranks bottom third nationally. This roster has been flipped, churned, recalibrated, sliced, diced, whatever you got to do. It's got a mixture of veterans, unproven upside, and make no mistake, it's not all gloom. This ground game is ultimately UCF's real weapon. RJ Harvey, I get it. Shake my hand, RJ. I'm going to the league. Great job. Way to get the job done. He had a monster year. And I don't think that even understates it. RJ Harvey probably was the only reason we turned in on UCF games, just to see what miracle he makes happen this week. Because the rest was so, like, just say it, weird. RJ had 1.5K yards on the ground, 22 touchdowns. But in steps Jaden Nixon, a veteran transfer who's going to pair with Miles Montgomery, who had his moments last year too, to lead a backfield that had 2.9K yards last year. When I look at UCF in the core of who they are, UCF is always going to be dominant rushing the ball. They had 248 rushing yards per game. That's 5.8 yards a pop. And despite all of the turnover, and despite the offensive line is returning at every spot, you got offensive line returning at every position. The question for me isn't whether UCF can run the ball. The question is, what does this Scott Frost hybrid option, spread option system look like? Because at quarterback now, they got Taven Jackson, formerly from Indiana and Tennessee, who is presumed to be the starter. But then you got Cam Fancher, Ja'Cory Brown just waiting in the wings. The quarterback room is in a better position, in my opinion, than it was last year. Last year just felt like I put all my marbles on KJ Jefferson being Big 12 comeback player of the year. Because I said, man, Arkansas did KJ dirty. He needs a new home. Why not play with Gus Malzahn, offensive guru? He can get the most out of you. And the harsh reality was he just didn't do it. So now, none of the quarterbacks that I mentioned previously have cemented themselves as the guy. And the instability could ultimately define UCF's early season arc that we have in the Big 12 this year. And I feel like SP Plus agrees with me because UCF finished 92nd in offensive SP Plus ranking in 2024. And they threw only 14 touchdowns last year of our Lord. RJ Harvey got wasted, bro. It's a shame what we did to RJ Harvey, UCF fans. Defensively, we had our struggles too. But one clear Achilles heel that we had to deal with over and over and over again was that we could not get off the field. 400 yards per game is just not going to cut it, bro. We gave up 28 sacks. Opponents converted on 43% of third down conversions. Pass defense was leaky like it was thunderstorming in Orlando. And we don't have no sense of a roof. 262 yards per game that we gave up on pass defense. We got pushed around late in games. It was bad. But there still was some bright spots because it's not all dark and gloomy. Ethan Barr, he led the team in total tackles, 72. Najee Kelly, he's going to be returning, so thank the heavens, because he was. I already know he was getting offers and people in his inbox, but he's going to be returning as a pass rushing force, and he had 5.5 sacks and 9.5 tackles for a loss last year. You bring back Malachi Lawrence, who had 5 sacks. Dalen Dotson had 4 sacks last year. That's going to be a defensive front that quietly can be, if they stay healthy, could be one of the upper level ones in the Big 12 if they can stay healthy. The back end, they're gonna be featuring a transfer loaded talent group like DJ Bell, for example, or Phillip Dunham. Linebacker Keely Lawson's coming in. He's gonna bring a level of ACC experience that you really can't teach. Hopefully it helps them weather the storm and gets them back up the team, but we can't mention it. The third phase is always important, and UCF was inconsistent in 2025 in special teams. But Dwayne Thomas Jr. gives them a legit threat in the return game. Punter Michael Carter, he was solid last year. I'm not gonna hold him. Like, we got to still pay attention to the where we are in special teams, because like Ejo said, it matters. Field position matters. If an offense has to start the ball on their 20-yard line versus starting on the opponent's 20-yard line every possession, who you think is going to have more points scored? I'll wait. It should be obvious, right? The team that's playing on the opponent's 20-yard line. So that's why this matters. But Knights fans, I'm Moon, host of World of College Football, and I love the Knights. Shout out to my guy Fallen. He's the one that helped spark my love for UCF football. I'm not gonna sugarcoat nothing with y'all. Let's just keep it a buck. This is just gonna be a challenge. SP Plus, Bill Connolly had our schedule ranked at 58th in the nation. To me, I still feel like that's high. And we sit on the outside looking in, so it's 61 in SP Plus rankings just overall. So that's outside of all the juggernauts in the Big 12. But we not know Houston. We're not Houston. But, we're like middle of the pack. This is a prove it year for Big 12, for UCF. What's the vibe in Orlando right now, Moan? Well, it's all about pressure and potential. What the metrics are not going to tell you is that Scott Frost brings a level of magic that comes into town. And it's just like when it's hard to put into words what when Scott Frost was in UCF, the joy that was around the program, the hope, the winning. The man went from 0-12 to undefeated in 2 years. There's no safety net though when he was in the AAC, but this year there might be because expectations are heavy, but so are our internal belief in ourselves and what we can do. The margin for error is going to be razor thin though. It's going to be razor thin. But in a conference that's defined by chaos, speed, unpredictability, UCF fits in perfectly because we feel like the ultimate wild card. And if Scott Frost can find a quarterback, whether it's between Brown, Fancher, or the perceived starter right now, he can stabilize the defense. You don't have to do what Malzahn did with just top upper echelon in the country with rushing yards per game, but still keep the identity and still keep that rushing attack a potential heavy. The bounce house might start jumping and bouncing again. We might start getting some that bass, that feeling, that hope, that confidence, that swagger, bravado that comes with being a UCF nice fan. You know what I mean? Like we stay in one of the best cities in the world. Like what? Why wouldn't you want to come here to Orlando? That's the type of energy that I feel like UCF is on the verge of hitting. And and this is World of College Football. Let me get to my comments. Can we actually have a kicker? Maybe. It was special teams was so inconsistent and awful. Said this season ain't gonna be fun. This is a rebuilding year. We were learning a lot from week 5 when we take on North Carolina. 100%. 100%. Last year, Fallen Calder, he said, look, we're gonna find out a lot when we play Colorado and Coach Prime in the bounce house. And we found out that we wasn't ready for the smoke. We talk like we was. UCF is one of the youngest fan bases in the entire country. The average age for a UCF fan base is significantly lower than what you would see on some of these other high-profile teams like Auburn, Alabama, the vintage programs that have older generations. UCF is championing the younger generation that's coming out and supporting them in waves. And if you're a fan of that, you want a guy that looks just like me. And I believe Scott Frost can be that guy that looks just like me, even though he don't look like me. You feel me? But he can have that same type of aura, that type of vibe that goes beyond just metrics. That what's the metrics won't tell you is that there's a certain sense of magic in the air with UCF. You know, I don't think the season is going to necessarily be fun because of our schedule, but I feel like the bounce house can find life again, and fans are going to want to come out because Scott Frost cares, unlike the last guy that was there. Welcome to World of College Football, hosted by me, Moon, credential media member, and the waviest to ever do it. I'm so excited for his tour this year. The CFB Nation Tour Year 3 is kicking off in 2025. We're super excited. We're trying to expand our network immensely. And if you're a fan of a team that we talked about today, know that we hope to see you on the tour this year, for real, so we can see that we putting in work in the off season. So when the season starts and we start to reap the rewards and all the benefits of it, we're gonna share in that together. We're gonna tip our chalice to you, my friend. So shout out to y'all for being here. Let's continue with our breakdown of the Big 12. And I'm realizing now I might not be able to get through all these teams. Might have a 2-hour show, bro. But I want to at least give y'all depth so I can get through half. Let's continue our deep dive and take a trip to Cincinnati, Ohio. Now, I have a bone to pick with Cincinnati that I'll talk about later on in the show, maybe on KT's show, about why I don't like Cincinnati as much as I should this year. And it has nothing to do about on the football field. It has everything to do with politics. But you ever walk through a house that used to feel like a home or that used to be a home? That's what it felt like for a Cincinnati Bearcats fan in 2024. The swagger from the Luke Fickell era is gone. The defensive dominance ghosted. You had to deal with unfortunate news of Dante Corleone missing a good part of the season because of just injuries that he can't even really control. You know what I mean? That defensive dominance was ghosted though. And the fear that they used to steal opponents back in the days where they had Sauce Gardner, yeah, that's buried under a 5-7 campaign that was just so forgettable. Ballin said he's preying on their downfall. I feel like a lot of the nation is too, because quite frankly, Cincinnati fans, it's like Mike Tomlin gif. We don't care. We don't care. But Scott Satterfield, he's not gonna make excuses. Not in this conference. But let's just be honest. Everybody that feels like Scott Satterfield is on the hot seat, please raise your hands high in the sky. Hold them. Hold them. Yeah, I see you over there. I see you. I see you too. Hey, thank you for putting your hand up and being honest. Those that put your hands up and being honest, you were a real one. And we can give yourself a high five. So high five, smack it. Scott Satterfield is on the hot seat, bro. There's nowhere the shape or form to express it or say it. He's on the hot seat. And Cincinnati football has to answer one question. What is Cincinnati football in 2025? Because according to the SB Plus post-spring rankings, Cincinnati sits outside of the top 60. And that, for me, is an uncomfortable truth that has to be talked about. There's going to be an uneasiness in Nippert Stadium this year. But if you dig through all of the data and you stop reading all the box scores and you just look at something beneath the surface, you're going to see that this team averaged 460.5 yards per game last year in 2024. Yes, they did. That was more than Kansas State. That was more than Iowa State. More than Florida State. Yes, that Florida State. We'll talk about Florida State in a coming episode. So firepower is there in Cincinnati, but it's ultimately because of incomplete combustion without discipline. Let's start our deep dive with Brennan Sorsby. Cincinnati fans, what's your honest opinion? Because this man has had offensive line problems really since he got there. So can we judge him? Do we have to grade him on a curve? How do we, like, I'm being for real. Like, do we grade him on a curve? Because the outside perspective was like, oh man, your quarterback is better than most around the nation, given what he had going on. He threw for 1,700 yards, 13 touchdowns, 66% completion percentage. Efficient? Yeah, sure. Explosive? Occasionally. But the 3 picks in key games showed that he is still learning. He's still young. He's trying to learn how to finish drives, close out fourth quarter games. Ask Riley Moss what it felt like to try to close out a game in Maryland on again USC versus Maryland last year. It's tough. USC, how many one-score games did they lose last year? Same thing with Cincinnati. This has to change. The run game, it was quietly lethal though, because Evan Pryor, he put up 8.9 yards for pop, and he broke loose on a 65-yard touchdown against Miami of Ohio that I still think about. Tyree Walker is still there. Chance Williams. They got a 3-headed little duo that is going on that can grind, that can slash you, that can hopefully finish some drives. The offensive line is returning most of his muscle with Xavier Lockwoodski and DeAndre Buford paving lanes for this running attack. But I'm looking at it. I need them to hold their own in pass protection. Can we hold our own in pass protection, people? Because if they can hold their own against the fronts that we're going to see, like Arizona States and the BYUs that are just super disciplined and not going to be gap sound, this offense can flip some games in their favor. And when we talk about offense, let's talk about weapons. Because the receiving room, they lost some top end talent, but that floor didn't bottom out. Joe Royer is still your most reliable target, 100%. 28 catches, 346 yards. Tony Johnson, he always has sticky hands, and he got route discipline to play on the outside on the boundary like you need him to. Then they brought in Cyrus Allen, Jeff Caldwell. They're going to inject some type of juice in my veins, that vertical deep threat juice that Brendan Sorsby is going to need. And he sorely missed, if we're being real, Cincy fans, we missed that explosion later on in the season. But here's the issue, because it doesn't matter how many yards that you rack up if you can't stop anybody. And Cincinnati's defense, let's just be real, call a spade. Their defense was middle of the road at best and downright broken at times in 2024. They gave up over 400 yards per game and 2 sacks against Texas Tech And in a game where the Red Raiders dropped 44 plus points, I'm not really impressed. For a school that used to eat on defense, that's unacceptable. And Moon is not gonna, Moan is gonna be honest, direct, straightforward, to the point, and I'm not gonna be like hiding behind all the fluff. SB plus rankings are rankings, but we gotta look past that and look at the fluff and see what's deeper than the surface, Because while I'm piling on, there were some bright spots. Like Dante Corleone, he's still a freaking nature. He got 4 tackles for a loss and 3 sacks, despite being double teamed almost every play. Jay Godday, he had 228 tackles, and he was sideline pursuit that you needed in a linebacker or the defensive end, depending on what you want to use him as. Pass rush though was inconsistent, and the secondary they made a lot of wide receivers rich this season. A lot of receivers got a bag because of the performance that they had against Cincinnati. But when I'm looking at it and I see one team on one end of the spectrum, like BYU, has 22 interceptions leading the conference. And then you have the complete opposite side, like Cincinnati only forced 3 interceptions in six games before the midseason point. I'm like, bro, like, do we not know where the ball is? Like, where's our ball tracking at? And I get it. We have a whole league in the Big 12 that's full of air raid disciples. They're trying NFL coordinator minds. We're going to talk about Colorado. NFL coordinator minds is dripping all over these rosters. So if you can't flip the field, you're going to end up drowning, period, bro. The special teams, ultimately a mixed bag. And they had Mason Fletcher, who was booming punts, 46.1 yard average, but they didn't have no return game. They missed 5 field goals. Like, come on, bro. It's all about margins. It's all about margins. Now, I'm not putting them in purgatory. They're not in limbo. And there is possibilities. This team has some bones. I got some bones to pick with them, but they got some bones and some meat and potatoes. That's not flashy. It's got enough, but is it enough? The yardage numbers and the rankings number says that they're better than their record. When you look at the offensive stats put up last year, but SB Plus basically is saying that they're not ready to compete for a title this year. And, betting against their demise is not a bad option. But if I had to look at it glass half full, the Big 12 doesn't care. And they like being in a position where they're not getting love or they're not getting energy or not getting respect, or we're talking about them from a glass half empty approach. But make no mistake, Cincinnati, there's no room for missed assignments. This whole nostalgia run that we're on. Well, thinking about, it's like laying in a bed. You remember Wolverine in that GIF where he's laying in the bed looking at a picture? It's like Cincinnati fans is just looking at that picture and they're Wolverine, but inside the picture is a picture of Luke Fickle. Because I'm not fully convinced that they love Scott Satterfield yet. We're going to see in 2025 what that looks like. Because either the Bearcats punch their way into relevance in 2025, or they vanish into the chaos and all the thickness that we have in the middle of the pack of the rankings of the Big 12. And this fall, it cannot come any sooner because I want to know the answers. Welcome to World of College Football, hosted by Moan. And we've went through a handful of teams in the Big 12 so far. We're not going to be able to get through all of them today, but on tomorrow's episode, we'll finish our deep dive into the Big 12 because there's so much to talk about. And with the SB Plus rankings officially dropping to the public as of today, I think that is perfect timing because this is going to help us give you more of our opinions and our takes and really allow us to paint the picture for you beyond just rankings and ratings and lists that everybody is coming up with. But we're going to tell you the story from the perspective that is complete, not missing any shadows. There's no shadows anywhere. It's hard to really give your full insight and analysis if you don't have all the pieces of the puzzle. If I'm sitting here and you're a one percenter like myself who's watching this content, and you're sitting there like, dang, bro, like, what am I supposed to really think about Cincinnati, man? Like, I'm supposed to be betting on them this year. Like, do I not? We want to be able to help you bridge that gap and not drive you further away. We can all agree we have too many things that are coming into sports that don't necessarily deserve to be there. And this game is sacred. In the world of college football, everything is constantly changing and evolving. But one thing that we want to stand 10 toes down on here on this platform is being in a position where we can not only uplift, but we can keep it real and hold people accountable too, because they can respect our approach, they can respect our thought process, and they know that we're not just giving you random weirdo type of takes, and we're actually being well thought out in our approach. So we're not going to be talking about race or any of these other topics that just get clickbait. We're going to be talking about straight ball talk, homie. You know what I mean? Straight ball talk for the people that love ball, like we love ball. So let's continue our deep dive with, I think this the last scene? Yeah, we'll do the last scene. Unless y'all want me to keep going. Y'all have to literally tell me to keep going, Mo. Keep going. You're in your bag. Or else I'm gonna cut it off after this. My goal was an hour and I already went over that. But I feel like I'm cooking with this episode and giving you something that's different than what we've been giving you. I love deep dives. KT's been doing a lot of deep dives on Governor College football. Make sure you check that out and support. Well, the team has been giving you a lot of deep dives, but this is the meat and potatoes for me, because this is the season. This is the season. When we get to August, it's gonna be like, that's the fun part. That's the fun part. We can watch it all and let it all happen, laugh about it, cry about it. That's the love of college football. But let's get into it. Let's break it down and keep going and being a savage with it. Coach Prime, Colorado Buffalo fans, shake my hand and come on down. Come on down. We got some business to talk about. Coach Prime, are you reloading or are you rewiring in 2025? Because this year is going to be one that pulls on our heartstrings. No Shador, no Shiloh. This man, that's all he knows. Since he's been in college coaching, he's always had his sons with him as his backbone. I know God is his backbone, but he has his family as his backbone. They already going through it with Shador being on the Browns, Shiloh being on the Bucks. Like, he calling him like, man, miss being home. So I'm looking at Coach Prime like, man, this one's gonna be an emotional season and just weird, because what does it look like? 9-3 finish last year, 2024. They had just enough sugar to keep them afloat and keep that dream alive all the way up to the end, really. But Coach Prime, is he rebooting? Is he reloading? Is he rewiring? What is he doing? Because there still is a machine in Colorado right now. But this ain't the same Colorado you remember. It's the one, it's not the one that you were promised either. The face of the franchise is gone to the NFL. Travis Hunter, gone. The hype, gone. Or at least people hope that it is. Please don't let Colorado be relevant. Please don't let them be relevant. Nah, buddy. It's still there. And underneath the surface, the SB Plus rankings put out by Bill Connolly today paint an interesting picture about Colorado when I'm looking at this little deep dive. Colorado is number 52 in post-spring SB Plus ranking, people, with a 46th in the nation offensive ranking and a defensive ranking of 60. The translation in layman's terms, what you need to know, they're talented, but they're not elite. Not yet, at least. Not in this Big 12. There's a new man behind center, and his name goes by Caden Salter, the Liberty transfer quarterback with volcanic upside and just enough chaos to make everything interesting. Last year, he threw for 2,800 yards, 31 touchdowns, and he rushed for over 1,000 yards. There's people out there that think Caden Salter is just a drop back quarterback with a weird face mask. Well, you better bet your bottom dollar that that kid can take that thing 60 to 80 yards on a pop and hit his head on a goalpost too, if you watch out. Liberty's offense relied on him to do that. He had a lot of command in the offense, but I feel like he got bored. But he's running the show now. At least we hope, because they still got Juju Lewis that came in, high ranked out of Carrollton, Georgia, who came in and balled out in high school, and now he's coming in trying to compete for the starting job. But now they got to go up against Big 12 defenses this year, and this is not going to be the Conference USA where you could just kind of get by, and there's not going to be a lot of talent discrepancy to really be able to pull you out of holes or be able to expose you in the ways they can. Colorado, we're hoping that Colorado explodes because of Caden Salter. But if it doesn't, things could get rocky and Boulder pretty fast. Helping them out, though, they still got some talent. Amarion Miller is still there. He's a rising junior wide receiver who flashed brilliance throughout the year. 21 catches, 400 plus yards. Man was out there, space eater. He's the X receiver. And if he can come in and just come in and like stack corners off the rip, flip momentum on one step just because of him understanding the game in his junior year, he can take that next step for sure. 100%. Joseph Williams, Jaylon Miller, Terrell Timmons Jr., they got a rotation that's explosive, twitchy, built for space. And if I'm Colorado fans, I'm like, hey, I know it's not Jimmy Horn. I know it's not LeJontay Wester, but woo, like it's not a bad drop off either. You know, at tight end, they got Zach Atkins coming in, and he's going to be, I hope, a safety net for them because he's physical in the run game, which you need. He's clutch on your third downs and sixes and your third downs and eights. He's going to be the guy that you look for. At running back, it's a new committee in town, but I don't think it's a drop off. They still got Michael Welch, and he's the guy to watch. He averaged 5.3 yards a carry last year and limited touches. He's going to bring back a certain sense of juice that is going to be perfect for this team. Like, I mean, perfect. Now, when I'm looking at this team, they have juice. Dallin Hayden. KT pounds the table for Dallin Hayden. And I'm right there with him. Former Ohio State running back. He going to add some experience, short yardage, stability for them. And they're going to be dynamic between Michael Welch and Dallin Hayden. But if you're not convinced yet, all right, cool. One of the biggest question marks last year, or really the last 2 years with Shador, is what we're seeing with the offensive line. Because finally, after all this time, it's starting to look like a real collegiate offensive line. Jordan Seaton is the guy that you need to know, the 5-star freshman phenom at left tackle who got busy last year. SP Plus agrees with us because they saw improvement there too, in saying that this group is raw. They are going to be physical specimens that you need to mold and develop. But they got Xylon Chrysler and Zarian McGill that's going to be holding down, trying to hold their weight and hold down the interior of this offensive line. So you protect Caden Salter, kind of a shorter quarterback, and you don't give up pressure, interior pressure like Noah Fafita had to deal with last year. You know what I mean? That's going to have a good recipe. Now let's talk about the elephant in the room, the defense. It's hovering just outside of national respectability in the SP Plus rankings by Bill Connolly. And in layman's terms, and to break it down to you, just brother to brother, brother to sister, if you're watching out there, let's just keep it real. They got some new additions. They added in Tavian Coleman, Jaheim Oedis. Jaheim came from Alabama. They got Taufik Thomas too. What you need to know, just think twitchiness, just think rotation, just think size. They got depth in the trenches. They already had Arden Walker, and they had Samuel. I can't pronounce his last name, but I just call him Samuel Okay because I look in the backfield and I say, okay, he's back there. That's what you need to know. Twitch, rotation, that rotation. Who do they have as their defensive line coach? Warren Sapp. My goodness. At linebacker, Martavius French, LSU transfer is coming in. Reginald Hughes is coming in, bringing in SEC speed at the second level. And both of them are going to be tasked with keeping mobile quarterbacks in check in this conference. And anchoring a run defense that got bullied in 2024. Why did Arizona, I mean, my bad, my apologies, Colorado get bullied over and over? It started early. North Dakota State got the ball popping. They gave the formula. Everybody else on the schedule just had to say, "Oh, them boys got cooked by for Cam Miller, and them boys got toasted." This can't be the same blueprint Colorado in 2025. Or is it? Secondary, they're young, they're fillers. Colton Hood, he's a future star. DJ McKinney, he got starter reps across multiple systems, so he's a very wise player. The safeties between Bayard and Carter Stoudemire, they got some ball harking type of archetypes in their secondary. But the ultimate thing, which Coach Prime is going to preach more than anything, is just consistency. Because we can take the SP Plus rankings and like look deeper than the surface. SP Plus ain't sold on Colorado yet, but they're saying its ceiling is top 30 if things click. Special teams, it's an elephant in the room. I get it, but Alejandro Mata was automatic under 40 yards last year, man. And Isaiah Harge, he's gonna add some return game pop. It might not be Wester, it might not be all the other options like Jimmy Horn, but it's still gonna be something. But I gave you a lot of information, so let's zoom out. This Colorado team is not a finished product by any stretch of the imagination. They are ranked 82nd in the nation in returning production. At 52% of their team is coming back. And this feels like a full identity year for them. How does that identity look like? Well, I guess it starts from the top and works our way down in the bottom. And I feel like with Coach Prime, you always got a chance. You're always going to have eyes on you. You're always going to have the brand exposure being going up. You're going to bring in money. You're going to have more games where you really shouldn't be having this type of audience, but yet everybody's up late watching Colorado like it's a family reunion. Yeah, because some people are waiting for them to fall off a cliff, and some people are waiting for them to reach the mountaintop and hit it. But they got them in the middle of the pack. And in situations like this is exactly what you need to show, can they go up or do they go down or do they just stay where they are? The belief is high though, but belief alone is not going to get you past BYU, Arizona, Kansas State. It's not going to get you past them. Colorado, what I think is SP Plus is trying to tell us that Colorado is a good team that's trying to be great. But there's just a lot of question marks in a lot of them in the Big 12. You don't get to ease into that and into these answers. So what Colorado do we get in 2025? I hope that it's the brand. It's a machine. It's a mood. It's energy. But is Colorado a contender? We got to wait till August to see because it starts early because the Yellow Jackets coming to town. Let's keep it popping and let's keep it moving and talk about Houston. And Houston will be our last one because, yeah, we got a problem. Yeah, we got a problem. And Houston going to be the
What excites you the most about springtime?
A problem. Because when you think about the noise in the Big 12, your mind probably jumps to Dion and Boulder. You probably think about what Chris Kleiman is doing. You probably think about the Kansas Jayhawks and Jalen Daniels still being there for what feels like his 84th year of college football. You think about everybody else besides Houston. But make no mistake, people. Houston is built to bleed you quietly. Your mind probably goes to Arizona State and Sam Levitt in Tempe, or the chaos in Avery Johnson and what I like to call him sunshine in Manhattan. But if you lower the volume a little bit and you start to just lean in, readjust your headphones and your headset, you start thinking to yourself, something is over there stirring right now in the third ward. But it's not like It's just faint. It's subtle. It's sharp. And Willie Fritz, I actually got more faith in Willie Fritz in 2025 than a lot of other Big 12 coaches. I get it. The Cougars finished at 4-8 last season, and my gosh, that is their record. But make no mistake about it. You cannot look at the box score with this team and say that this is a 4-8 ball club, because the tape, it never lied. They were physical. They were chippy. They were one-dimensional because they had no true identity. And now they got Willie Fritz, who's going to be deeper in his bag in 2025 as a play caller, hopefully, and efficient, opportunistic, and ultimately mean as hell on third down. That's what you want from Houston. SB Plus's post-spring rankings gave Houston the 59th spot overall. That's all of 136 FBS teams. They have Houston at 59. That's higher than UCF. That's right there, better than some of the other teams. Dang, a team that went 4-8 last year, Mo? Yep. Why is this the case? Because it's a sign of a program that's just been knocking at the door, just trying to be respectful. And then sooner or later, they just going to kick the door down. Offensively, Houston is nothing to sit here and fawn over. You're not about to sit here and give a love note for Houston. Oh, Houston. Oh, I love your offense. It's like Darla. Hey, Darla. No, it's not happening. Might as well crumble that piece of paper up and throw it out the window, alfalfa. Their defense, 91st in the nation. I mean, their offense, 91st in the nation. Nobody's writing home about that. Defensively, though, them boys is 36 nationally. And that tells the story clear as day. What's up, Devil Wolf? Welcome to the show. That tells the story clear as day, people. This team can defend against anybody, but the offense, it has to show up in 2025, year of our Lord. And welcome to the scene, Connor Weigman, the former Texas A&M quarterback who was a 5-star savior at one point, is now wearing red. Why? Because Marcel Reese took the job away from him. And that team switched up on them. But guess what? Houston now has the best quarterback talents that they had since Case Keenum. And you remember all the records that man threw and broke. Don't let that 2024 injury scare fool you. When healthy, Connor Weigman is a decisive, accurate thrower who can stretch the field and he can hit in tight windows. When you pair that with Willie Fritz's offense that is going to ultimately favor tempo and space over everything, this is chaos disguised as structure. And it's a match made in heaven. Weigman, his arsenal is going to be aplenty. Harvey Broussard III, a junior wideout with serious downfield pop. He's there. Amari Thomas, Steven Johnson. They round out a wide receiver core that's not going to wow you on paper, but they know how to find holes in zone coverage. You add in another Trishy transfer, Kai Muse from Georgia, who doubles down and is going to be a top return specialist, hopefully, for this team. And maybe even in college football, this wide receiver core starts to look really scary. In the backfield, we got Dean Connors, who's back after leading the team in all-purpose yards, becoming the offense's most reliable weapon in 2024. Shake my hand, Dean. Appreciate you, twin. After 5.6 yards a pop, I can call him twin because he built like me. 10 total touchdowns. We can't sleep. Don't sleep on Rashawn Sanford either. The second, by the way. When he's healthy, he's built to destroy tired linebackers in the fourth quarter because he's going to weigh on them. The offensive line, let's just be real, it's veteran heavy. They got Evan Duque. I think that's how you say it. Evan Ndukwe. I think that's how you say it. You know how the N's are silent? Yeah, it's one of those situations. Jason Brooks Jr. and Matthew Wilkoff. Those are my guys. Those are what I'm going to talk about because this team is older, more experienced, more battle-tested, and hopefully more cohesive than last year's attack when it felt like a patchwork. And still, they got to be better against pass pro. They got to be better in pass pro. They don't want Connor Weigman out there running for his life every Saturday in a league that's full of all types of exotic pressures and all types of different looks and coverages that you're going to get. Now, speaking of pressures and coverages, defensively, let's talk about Houston, because this is where this team could really break through in 2025. We got to talk about their front seven. Carlos Allen Jr. and Joshua O'Donnell bring speed and leverage on the inside. The Cougars, they rank top 40 in tackles for a loss nationally in 2024. They return 5 of their top 7 tacklers. When you add in other spark players like Brandon Mack and Khalil Lufau, and you start looking at the way their scheme is, and they know how to collapse pockets and how to hold contain on the outsides, this is rare for teams that is outside of the top 25. We just got done grilling multiple teams for having no semblance of defense. Houston is the reverse. They couldn't figure it out on offense, but defense, they were respectable and should be feared. Ask Oklahoma last year how they felt playing Houston when you only give up 16 points if you're Houston against Oklahoma and Brent Venables. Ask them. I'm just gonna run through it real quick. Keontae Scott on the back end transfer from Auburn is coming in for the defense. He's gonna be playing on the boundary. They got AJ Halsey, who's gonna bring SEC experience too. So that's 2 SEC corners coming in. And he really could play safety for real. He really is safety, but it's gonna bring big playability and ultimately tackling. We need that. Jeremiah Wilson, circle his name because he had 10 pass breakups and a pair of picks last year. This group, the defensive and the back end for Houston, is going to be fearless, relentless, physical, and downright dirty because they are upset that they keep getting disrespected and ranked outside of the top 25. And people just keep ignoring them over and over again as if they not like that. Like they didn't rank top 30 nationally in pass defense efficiency in 2024. That was just the second halves. Like, special teams, this team is clean, clinical, clear cut, buttoned up, what you would expect. Their kicker, Ethan Sanchez, he got range. He will have range. He can hit from 50 plus consistently. And then you add in Makai Muse that's coming in. He can just go and hit the field and make instant impact. Houston, we don't need you to waste any possessions, bro. This year is when you all have to, when it matters, and you have to put it all together. So, Moon, I know you just broke it down all, but what's the big picture, bro? What are you really trying to tell me? All right, cool. SB Plus is basically saying that Houston's defense can win them games, but the offense, they need Connor Weigman to be that guy right now, right? Like, no waiting. Just he needs to be that guy immediately. There's not that much returning production coming in. They only have 65%. That's middle of the pack, just like some of the other Big 12 teams. But it's better than what they left. Willie Fritz, he don't need all the hype. He don't need all of that talking points. He just needs a little bit of space, a little bit of time. He turned Tulane from a meme to a menace. And now look at what Tulane is. Now he's at Houston. He already had to go through his bumps and pains. But this city is built on grit, revenge, and proving the world wrong. And that's what I'm hoping that Houston does. Because if the Big 12 is built on chaos, Houston is the little brother that showed up to the party and everybody got knives behind their pocket. And Houston said, "Oh, I'm bringing the tool for real because y'all don't know what we're talking about. Y'all brought knives. Oh, I'm bringing a machete. I got a machete." And they're like, "Whoa, Houston, wait, bro, wait. This is a knife fight. I know I got a knife." No, bro. It's the same situation. So I'm looking at the Cougars as one of the most underrated and scariest teams to play in 2025. They beat Kansas State last year. We have to talk about it. But then the opposite side of the spectrum is they lost to Kansas. And I mean, they got blown out by Kansas. So you say, "Oh, dang, what Houston am I going to get?" They took Oklahoma to the wire early in the season. When I look at it, I'm saying, Houston, you got the potential, you got the pieces that's in there, and defensively, I plan on them being elite, top of the top. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Houston this year is top 30 defense nationally. Again, back-to-back years. It would not surprise me. On the next episode, we're gonna talk about Iowa State, Kansas State, others like Oklahoma State, TCU. What do the Horned Frogs do in this new year of Josh Hoover and company? Do they keep it running? What does it look like? We're going to talk about Texas Tech and Baron Morton and the fully operational air raid approach and system that's hopefully coming to Lubbock, because quietly Lubbock is the pulse in Lubbock is going crazy right now. It feels like that SpongeBob episode when the all the jellyfish took over SpongeBob's house and he did not want to listen to music no more. And they just broke it and they got mad and they started buzzing him. That's what it feels like. It feels like that same thing. You can feel the pulse of the house coming. And that's what Texas Tech fans look like. They partying right now. Like, oh, this team on paper. Oh, buddy, like this is this real? Like, yeah, it's real. Uh-huh. It's getting real. Big 12 is going to be amazing this year. So many teams that are like in the middle ranking each other. SP Plus gave Arizona State the top nod in the conference as the juggernaut, but right behind them, Kansas State, BYU. Can't forget about other teams that's in that mix, like Texas Tech. TCU is right there. What I'm trying to say is, in this world of college football, you want parity. The Big Ten might blow you away because of their TV money, and they got USC and Ohio State, Michigan. SEC might blow you away because they have all of the blue bloods in the Alabamas, Georgias, Auburns, Floridas, and the rest. But the Big 12 is secretly where all of the spice is going to be at in the 2025 season, because it's going to be controversy. Everybody is coming for each other's necks. Everybody. No team is safe. Last year, we're sitting here saying, oh, I actually had Texas Tech. We were high on Texas Tech last year and the year before. And the year before. We've been on Texas Tech for the last 3 to 4 years now. So if they hit this year, we were like, man, we called it 3 years ago. All I'm saying is that it's going to be craziness. What does Mike Gundy do at Oklahoma State after he had to just pick whatever he could from the transfer portal? What does Chris Kleiman in Kansas State do after he's one of the most underappreciated coaches in college football? What does Coach Prime look like with no Shador, no Shiloh, and a freshman that's coming in by the name of Julian Juju Lewis from Carrollton, Georgia, and Caden Salter from Liberty, who could not stand being there no more? What are we going to see from Utah? And like you just said, Dan Pierre, what are we going to see with no Cam Rising? What are we going to look at TCU and Sonny Dykes? Because this team was 4 years removed from being in the national championship. Like, this conference is chaos personified in a team or a group of teams that are going to be ignored, not given the shout outs, not given the love. Some people will be lazy and just put them all grouped together. But there's clear separation. There's clear separations. We got teams like Houston who, for the longest amount of time, are playing good defense. Houston didn't give up more than 33 points a game last year. 33 was the highest number of points that they gave up last year. Ask a team like Arizona how many points they gave up on average last year. Like, these teams, it's just from top to bottom, it's loaded. What does Scott Frost look like in his first year coming back to Magic? What does West Virginia look like after Rich Rod just won a conference championship and rode out on a sunset in Jack State? And Jack State now has Charles Kelly. And they're like, man, we're going to keep the ball rolling. And Rich Rod and WVU is like, slap hands. Slap hands. Baylor, we talked about them earlier in the show. Baylor is won 6 straight games last year, returning their starting quarterback in Dave Aranda. I mean, yeah, bro, you on the hot seat. Let's just be real. You on the hot seat. But so are other coaches like Scott Satterfield trying to replace Luke Fickell. You on the hot seat, bro. You on the hot seat. Let's just be real. I don't want to say Coach Prime on the hot seat, but I mean, that program not used to winning. They only have 2 winning seasons in the last 25 plus years. So I feel like we're getting a chance with these SP plus rankings to dive deeper than the surface and really get a chance to see not just the numbers. Everybody can look at numbers and be like, oh, they rank this or they rank that. But let's just look past the fluff. Let's go beyond the surface and let's go to the meat and potatoes of what makes this conference so amazing. And it's because it's dangerous, it's deep, and it's capable of hanging. Everybody has a chance on a week to week basis. If last year was any indication, Big 12 football was must see TV every weekend. Every weekend. And there's no conference under the sun that is going to have more controversy than the Big 12 in 2025, year of our Lord. I give a special shout out to Ken Rising. I know you're going to the sunset, my man, medical retirement. But man, this is going to be a different year because we don't got you as our guardian angel just coming back after 84 years of just playing college football. It's going to be different because of that. You know, it's a lot to think. It's a lot to talk about. On the next episode, we'll continue our Big 12 deep dive and going into all the schools in more depth because this is a power pack conference. I appreciate you tuning in. I'm your boy Moon. Thank you for everybody that stopped into the show, whether it's 1 minute, 2 minutes, 5, or you stayed the whole time. I greatly appreciate you. You can connect with me more on Twitter at CFB Moon. That's CFB Moon on Twitter, on thecfbnation.com. That's where you can find all of our articles, all of our content that we got going on. If you're on YouTube, consider hitting that subscribe button. I don't want to tell you to, but highly consider it because this ball is not stopping and we just want to talk straight ball. I talk straight ball. None of the fluff, none of the extra stuff, just straight ball. You know what I mean? And that's what we do here at the Nation, the CFB Nation. And we got a jam-packed show. We're probably gonna give you multiple shows this weekend. And we're gonna go all guns a-blazing because that's what the Big 12 fireworks is gonna be like this year. Whether you're a team of the UCF, whether you're a fan of UCF in the Space Knights, whether you're out in Arizona and Tucson trying to figure out how to make everything stretch and shake with Noah Fafita this year, whether you're out there in West Virginia, what else singing good old West Virginia, country roads, all lead back to home, and whether you're out there in Lubbock, Texas, who you really think that this is your best chance ever to make the college football playoff, I'm here to tell you that the world of college football is fastly changing and fastly evolving, my friend. Oh, yeah. Side note, I can't wait for Baylor versus Auburn either, bro. Cannot wait for that. Cannot wait. World of college football is constantly changing. World of college football is constantly growing and evolving, and there's always movers and shakers. But in this conference, the Big 12, we don't know. Nobody knew that Arizona State was just going to be what they were last year, end up dominating in the conference championship. I mean, they blew out Iowa State. It wasn't close. But that's what happens. That's what happens. Shout out to you and yours. I'll see you on the next one. And don't forget, use that promo code DCLB Nation to get 125% deposit match on your purchase on our great sponsors, BetUS. They always take care of us. And until next time, my friend, stay wavy.